Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, on this fine Wednesday. I'd like to welcome you to our year-end rollover support hosted webinar. I am your host today. My name is Tandiwe Koza, and I will be demonstrating the year-end rollover with you. It shouldn't take long, but all questions are welcome. We will start the webinar in about 2 or 3 minutes just to wait for the other attendees to join in. Okay. Good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. Just going to reintroduce myself for the attendees that just joined. My name is Tandiwe Koza. I am the product specialist for Pastel Payroll and will be hosting today's webinar. What we're going to go through today is just the year-end rollover process. So we're going to be rolling over from February to our year-end period and go through to March, the March 2025 period. Okay, so just by show of hands, if anybody, if you guys can see my audio, sorry, see my visuals and hear the audio. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for that. Right, so first of all, when preparing for your year-end rollover, right, what you need to do is you need to just find out if you are on the latest version of Pastel Payroll. This is very important so that all the necessary legislative upgrades are in place or implemented when you do your year-end rollover, and then you don't have to miss out on any legislative updates. Okay, so we check the latest version of Pastel Payroll under Help About. So there's two ways where you can check it. So the most prominent way is just, or easiest, is just to click on Help About here, the very last icon. So when you click on Help About, it'll give you all the information of your company, but the most important is this here, the latest version that we are going to be focusing on. All right, so the latest version is on 2025 update 2A. So if you are on the latest update, then you can continue with the year-end process. Should you not be on the latest version of Pastel Payroll, not to worry. So we do have a link in app where you can just go and download the install file on our download manager. You go to utility, web links. We have a couple of web links for you guys here. And then the second one would be download latest version. So when you select download latest version, this would be your landing page, which is our download manager. You see that it will have the latest update on there. So the latest update currently is 2025 update 2A. So you can just download the file. Should you need any assistance with installation, you can download the help file or the guide on how to do the step-by-step on how to install your Pastel Payroll. Okay. So with that being said, now that we've determined that we are on the latest update of Pastel Payroll, the next step is that we do a legislative release so that we are sure that we have implemented all the the legislative changes required in this update. Okay, so we do that under help and then legislative release. It's very important to read and understand what the update overview does or the legislative upgrade. You'll click on next. It's very important to make a backup. But I'm going to skip the backup for now. but it is important that you do a backup, because when you do a legislative upgrade and you haven't updated your legislative changes, it might make slight changes to your payroll. So that is why it is very important to make a backup, so that you know the difference between before you run the legislative release and after, when it has updated the legislative changes. Okay, so we'll click on next and then confirm. This template is just advising us, are we sure we want to do the legislative upgrade? And the answer is always yes, so that we are able to implement those changes. So when you click on next, this might take a while. Even if it says not responding here at the bottom, and sorry, not the bottom, there at the top, and it's loading, it is doing something in the background. So you don't need to click anywhere. You just need to wait for the process to complete. As you can see, the legislative upgrade can take a little longer than usual, or your usual processes. It is vitally important that you are patient with it. As you can see, now that it is done, legislative changes have been made. There is a report that is printed after legislative changes. You can go and view the changes on that directory, excuse me, or you can print the report, but I'm not going to be printing the report. Okay, once you're done with that, then you can click on finish. So the second part of the year-end process is now done. So depending on the payroll processes for each company. So some may want to do the exception report first, but I do advise that you do your final payroll run first, so that you know that you are all you are focusing on after your final calculations is just clearing the exceptions, that if there are any exceptions in your exception report. Okay, so we will do the payroll run for this company. We'll, again, very important to make a backup. Then you can click on next. We're doing the final calculation. I'm not going to be doing with printing simultaneously, because I just want to do the final calculation before I do the exception report. Filter all my employees once I'm done with that, and then I'll click on next. Oh, sorry, before we do that, you will come across this a warning message. This is not an exception. It's not an error. It is just a warning message that this is the final pay run, because we are in February, which is the last month of the tax year. So it says this is the final pay run, and all or some of your employees, please run the IRP5/IT3 exception report to correct any problems. Okay, before continuing the final pay slip, which is fine. As I said earlier, you can choose to clear the exception report first and then do your pay run. Once you click on OK, just to highlight, this is the guide on how to print your exception report. So when you click on it, it goes through to the our Sage knowledge base where it gives you a step-by-step on how to print the exception report. This message does not prevent you from doing your payroll run, right? So once you click on OK, you are able to select next and process. Just remember, guys, that you are able to put questions on the chat, and then I will attend whatever questions that you have. If it's a question that is outside of what we are presenting today, that's quite fine. If you have any other questions relating to Pastel Payroll, I'm more than happy to answer it. Right. So now that that is complete, I can click on Finish, and then I will proceed to print out the exception report. Before I print the exception report, I just want to emphasize that there is a guide on how to do the step-by-step year-end process. It is available on our knowledge base. So it is in app. Once you click on help, you are able to go to knowledge base and then search for the year-end process guide. You can also go to our year-end center on the community hub. Community hub is very important because that is where we post all product related issues. Well, not issues per se, but announcements of events as well. Okay, so let's print our exception report. We go to view and then statutory reports, and then we'll print our IRP5 exception report. Okay, so in this exception report, you can print it to the screen or any other file formats that you're comfortable with. The print status should be both because we don't want to be leaving anybody behind, whether they have certificates that have been printed or not printed. So both is recommended when you are running the exception report. We have this little checkbox to exclude any income tax numbers because if you have a lot of employees who do not have except or income tax numbers, the report might take longer to print, and you might be missing any vital information or vital exceptions that you need to be clearing should you have any exceptions on your report. Okay. Um, the reason why we exclude that is the reason why we exclude income tax numbers. Should you want to see which employees need income tax numbers on their master files, you're more than welcome to uncheck this box, and then you can print your report. All right. Just a side note, it is mandatory for employees to have your income tax numbers, but it will not prevent you from creating your IRP5 file and then importing it onto EasyFile. Okay, it does not prevent you from continuing with your year-end process, right? So once we click on OK, all right. So on our exception report, we see that we have One, rejection. So how do we identify rejection? Rejection will be an exception that doesn't have this word in front of it, which says warning. So a warning does not prohibit you from continuing with your year-end process. It just means that this is a warning. You can fill out the information that is missing at a later stage. All right. So the most important one here is the very first one. So it says employee ABC has you must specify a valid IT3A reason code for on the tax tab in the edit master file. Okay, so this basically means that this employee is not liable for any PAYE, right? If you're not liable for any PAYE, you must state a reason why you are not liable for PAYE. There are many reasons, but the most common one is the employee is below the tax bracket. Okay, so the fastest way of clearing this exception is when you click on close. So we've made the system to come up with the template here where it asks you, do you want to specify the reasons? If you click on next, then it'll give you a list of all the employees that need their IT3 reason codes to be specified. In this case, we have one, but should you have more, the list is going to be on here. All right, to make it easier, instead of going into each master file one by one, you can just simply specify the reason. So like I said earlier, there are multiple reasons on why the employee would not be liable. These are your reasons. These are specified by SARS, they're not specified by SAGE. All right. So the most common one, which I am going to use for this particular employee, is number 2, which is income below the threshold. Should you have more than one employee that has the same reason code, you are able to update them in bulk by choosing on this drop down on here. So when you drop down here, you can update for everybody. All right. But since I have one, I can just drop down for that one person. Once I'm done, I can click on save. This updates this person's master file immediately. So you don't have to go back onto the master file and go and select the reason code. So if I print my exception report again, you'll see that that specific exception is now cleared. Okay. So I'm happy with my exception report, but before I do a pay period update, the one thing that you need to be aware of is that if you have any employees that are on maternity leave, those employees need to be reinstated. Why is that? Because if you go ahead and do a year-end process and create an RP5 for that person, it'll see them as a final certificate for the company, but we don't want that because the employee will still be coming back and is still active. It's just that that person is on maternity leave if they're not getting any remuneration for being on maternity leave. So if you're on maternity leave, if an employee is on maternity leave in the end of April, sorry, not April, in February, you need to reinstate your employee and um, zero out their payslip because they weren't supposed to be paid in February, but we need them to be active when we do the year-end rollover. Okay, so we are going to be reinstating them when you reach the March period again, so that they are terminated for the remainder of the leave period. All right. It's just an FYI. Next, we're going to be doing the year-end or the pay period update into our year-end period. Some call it the 13th period, but we call it the year-end period. It's essentially not a 13th period, it's just a period where you need to create a copy company and your print the monthly reporting, and then you can move on to the next tax year. All right. So here's another FYI. When before you roll over to the next period, vitally important that you print your EMP 201 report. Why is this? Because you won't be able to print your EMP 201 report in the year-end period because it is grayed out. It is not available for printing or viewing in the year-end period. All right. Any other reporting like your EMP 501s, you can still print those because the reports that we do recommend just for financials that you print is the monthly analysis report as well, but you can print that in the year-end period. But before you roll over to your year-end period, vitally important in February that you print your final EMP 201 report, right? So we print that under View, Statutory Reports, EMP 201. You can either print the monthly declaration, we'll just give you a summary, excuse me, of the EMP 201 or the detailed report or both. All right, so the detailed report gives you a detail on each employee's remuneration, how we got to calculating the UIF, the SDL, all your statutory information, your PAYE, and so on. All right, and then it does at the end of the report give you a monthly declaration, which is the summarized version. All right, so let me just print this so that we are familiar with the report. So we're going to print for this month. You can or you are able to show calculations so that you can see where these values that are summarized come from, right? If you do add a summary or show details or show the remuneration, or sorry, the calculation, it might take longer to print out. So as you can see that it gives you detailed information on each employee. Okay, let's go to the next person. So let's see Mr. Abrams here. We see his remuneration and how we got to his remuneration by summing up all of the tax totals that make up his remuneration, his SDL as well, all the earnings and the employee tax that they have that they are liable for. Okay, well as the SDL and your UIF. Okay, so basically this is what it looks like if you are printing the detailed report. It's very important for your reporting or auditing purposes as well. So this is the last page. Like I said, this will be the summary of your EMP 201 report. So it'll show you your normal PAYE SDL, but as a summary, the one that you print on a monthly basis and declare on to your e-filing. All right. So once you've printed that and you're satisfied that all is well, then we can move on to doing our pay period update. Okay. So do our pay period updates under process, pay period updates. You can make a backup. If you do not make a backup and click on next, it will advise you to make a backup automatically because you have to have a backup for your final period, or not even your final period, just as a final backup before you roll over into the next period. So should you need to go back to a certain period, it takes you back to when you've finalized everything and don't need to start over again. Okay, so once I click on OK, this little screen will come up. It'll tell me where I'm backing up to. Some people do like to change the file name. We recommend that you don't. Should you want maybe to specify that this is a Feb backup, what you can do is you can create a new folder and name it February backup. Let's see, it's Feb 25 backup. Right? So by doing this, you are creating a folder under your backups folder for your February 2025 backup. Once you click on process, that is going to be your destination of or directory for your February backup. Yeah. Right, so my backup is done. I'm happy with that. I only have one pay period or one pay frequency, which is the monthly. In this pay frequency, it'll tell you that I'm in month 12. This is the end date. My next period is our year end period. All right. So you see that it doesn't go to one, it goes to year end. Then we can click on next and then process. Right, once that is complete, I can click on finish, and then I can see here right at the bottom that my period end date has now changed. It is now year end. So because this is the year end of 2024, 2025. All right, so immediately after going through to the year end period, you'll see that two icons now are low lighted. Process payslip. We are not allowed to have a process payslip or do a pay run in the year-end period. This is specifically for viewing reports and doing your copy company, and then doing your year-end period and creating RP5 certificates. Right. So once you're in the year-end period, we recommend that you print your exception report once again so that you can see that when you're creating your RP5 file, you can rest assured that you don't have any exceptions. But because we are not in the submission period as yet, I'm not going to be doing an RP5 certificate, but if there is a request, then I will go through that. Okay, I see that there is a question. Sorry, Kashifa. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. So there's a question. The question says, if you had loaded an employee and selected the income below threshold reason code, and the employee does in fact need to pay tax, will Sage correct this, or would it pop out as an exception? The reason code exception pops out only if the system um, has detected that this employee does not have any PAYE liability. So we've never had an exception like that in the system where an employee has PAYE liability and then there is an IRP5 exception for that person. But should you have any employee with a PAYE liability and you do have an IT3A reason code for them on the master file, yes, it will give a flag that this person is liable for tax and yet there is a reason code for them on the master file and you should go and remove it. So I hope that answers your question. All right, so back to the process. We'll be doing the exception report, right? So view, statutory report, and then exception report. All right, we see that we still don't have any rejections and we are able to continue. So once I'm satisfied with this, we now need to go through with the year-end process, right? So you are able to create your RP5 now, right? In this period, but since today is the budget speech, we don't have any, we're not foreseeing any drastic legislative changes. But if there are any legislative changes, SARS would have advised by now, and we would have liaised with our compliance team in terms of what needs to be updated. But should you feel comfortable with creating an RP5 at this point, it is very welcome that you do so and then keep it in whatever directory that you use when you are keeping your financials in terms of your RP5 tax file. Then when it is time to do the submission, you are able to import it onto your easy file. Just an FYI, there is a new, if you're not already on the latest easy file, on the latest easy file installation, SARS has ran a beta file from last year during the media submissions, but then now the old look easy file that you used to has now been upgraded onto a new easy file platform where you need to update. I think the version is version 8, so it's very important that you are on that version and not the old easy file application. Right, so yes, we're doing the year-end update. So when you're doing the year-end update, you go to process, year-end update, you'll see that all these other options or functions are now grayed out. This is the only function that you'll be able to do under process in the year-end period. Very important to, excuse me, read the overview so that you can understand what is happening or what this process entails. You'll see that I'm not able to click on back or next because I haven't made my year-end backup. So once you click on backup, again, what I can do is can change the naming here, which is more or less recommended or not, it's up to you, or you can create another folder on the backup which says year end. Okay, so once I'm done with that, the backup process will commence. Okay, so once it's done, happy with that, you'll now see that I have the next button available for me. I will click on next, and then on this particular step, this is where I create my copy company. It basically copies the data of the full year into like it creates a new company, but it's your copy company, right? So you have a choice of copying your company or not copying your company. And if you feel like you're going to be doing it in a later stage, you are able to do it at a later stage. Um, but I'll show you if you do not create your copy company, you are able to create it manually, right? So your copy company name should be distinctive to your original company name. All right. So my company name currently is Evolution, right? So what I can do is name it Evo YE25. Okay. So I know that it's an evolution company. It's the year end of 2025. Okay. And then I can click on next. The step might take, oh gosh. All right. So if you do come across runtime error 70, permissions denied. Okay. So this basically means that I don't have sufficient um, permissions to create this copy company. This usually happens in the workstations. So what you can do is, where's my, okay, sorry, I don't have the icon on the screen that I'm sharing. But what we usually recommend for error 70 is that you don't have any other stuff that are connected to payroll open, like your Excel, your Pastel accounting, um, or the pervasive control panel. So what we usually recommend, let me just see if I can put this, no, no. Voting. Okay, so this is my payroll icon. So usually it's because the package or payroll is not running as administrator. All right. So we right click on the payroll icon, go to properties, and then under compatibility, I want to run this program as administrator. I'm also going to run it to be compatible to this Windows. Okay. Okay, and then we can open up payroll again. Okay, I've logged back in. Let's try to do it again because I've already made a backup. It's not giving me the option. Sometimes it does create the file folder. Okay, so Evo YE25. Let's check if there's nothing else that would prevent us from printing this report. Okay, there we go. So once I've given permissions to run as the administrator, you see that it is very simple for you to create this copy company. So it does say we've successfully created the copy company. Um, should you need to change the password for your copy company, you go to set up passwords, because it'll take on the same password as your company. But if you want to change the password, then you are able to log on to the copy company and change the passwords there. So once I click on OK, gets me through to the next period or the next step, where I have my year-end processes. So this is like a check of everything that I have done. So I've made a backup. Check, yes, I have. Printed all my annual reports. Yes, your EMP 501s and the monthly analysis report. I've printed all my statutory certificates. We skipped that part so that we can do it on the copy company. Okay, and then once you've checked all three, then you can click on process. All right. Once the year-end has been finalized, the last step on the year-end assistant is the system allows you to delete any terminated employees. So if you have any terminated employee master files that are on record and you feel like the SARS record keeping period has now lapsed, you are able to delete those master files, because you do have a copy company where you can view those employees' records. And if you have adhered to the SARS record keeping period, then you are able, so that you don't keep seeing master files that you don't that you aren't able to reinstate. Okay, so you are able to do so by clicking on the filter, and it'll immediately come up with all the terminated employees. Should you want to terminate or delete all these employees, you can keep them under employees to process and then click OK. Once you've done that, then you'll click on the delete button. The delete button will now be available for you. But should you not or are not comfortable with deleting your employees, that's perfectly fine. It's just that this process allows you to delete the employees in bulk. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to delete those employees, or the master files rather, when you roll over to March. It's just that you're going to be deleting them one by one in the new tax year. Right. So I'm not going to be deleting anything. Oh, let me just delete, as I do have a backup. That's fine. Once that is done, then I can click on next. Now I've concluded or completed the year-end process, and then click on finish. And then now you'll see that I'm in my period 1, which is the 31st of March 2025. Okay. So once I'm in this period, just a few things to highlight. Remember that in February, should you have any terminated or maternity leave employees, we've reinstated them. Now, in March, if that maternity leave employee is still under the maternity leave period, then you re-terminate that person with the you re-terminate that employee with the original termination date for the start of the maternity, and then you can continue with your processing, right? So another um, warning message that would come up on the March period is that when you are running your payroll run or legislative release, it will let you know that you are not on the latest tax files for 2025, 2026. That would be correct because you're still on the version 2025 update 2A. We are going to be releasing the new tax files for 2025, 2026. We were waiting for the budget speech that is currently being done today. So any changes that are going to be coming up, we will be updating or implementing all the legislative changes with the changes that are going to be announced today on our update 2026 update 1. So that install file will be available on the first week of March. So the first week of March, you will be getting your latest version with the latest text files, but this doesn't prevent you from continuing with your processing from March. Okay. Let me just see if I'm missing anything else. Yeah. Right. So that is how we go through our year-end process from rolling over from February to March. I hope this was very insightful for everybody. Should you have any questions, I still do have 10 more minutes with you guys, so you can post your questions. I see that Otto has a question. He says, how do you add an employee that does not have a work permit as yet? Will they be able to get a tax number? So you are able to add that employee on the master file. It doesn't prevent you from adding them. They will be able to get the tax number once they've registered with SARS and everything is in order with their work permit. Okay. Also, Otto, you are on the easy file able to download, or not download, sorry. You are able to apply for a tax number on their behalf if they haven't done so on the SARS. So on EasyFile, there is a functionality that a third party, which is the employer, that can create or register for an income tax number for the employees. So that is done on the EasyFile application and not payroll. So you are able to do that if you don't have the employee's tax number. All right. There is another question, Wahida. I don't want to bring in old leave balances from the previous year. Is it possible? So it depends on which leave you are you want to clear. All right. So with our leave transactions, annual leave, okay. So annual leave transactions, the annual leave transaction, you are able to set it up that it updates or clears the days due. So the annual leave only updates your days due on the transaction. So if you go to setup, transactions, the very first one that pops up is annual leave because it's 0001, right? So in this space, this is where you update and clear your totals, but it doesn't you won't be able to set everything up as 0, unfortunately. So you have two choices. When you're updating or clear, legislatively, it's supposed to update at the end of the cycle, at the beginning, or um, towards the beginning of the start date of the employee. Okay, so legislatively it defaults to end of cycle. So if you want your days due to clear at a specific month, you are able to do so. Specific month, some companies like to um, clear everything and start over. They have a cycle of January to December for the shutdown period. So you are able to set it up there. And then once you click on this, you are able to select a specific month, which says December, which is month 10. All right. So should you want to clear everything in year end, meaning you want to update your days due in update your days due and clear everything in the year end, so you can select the first option. So this means if employee ABC has a days due of 3, that will be the last on the days due in February, they'll have 3. When you roll over to March, if you've selected year end, then those 3 days will become that employee's opening balance, and then it'll start over the cycle accrual from scratch, but it'll have those 3 days in hand. So that's what it basically does. Okay, Wahida, I hope I answered you there. Okay. And then Vanessa, can you request a text number for an employee via e-filing? I'm not too sure about that, Vanessa, but I am. I'm not too sure about that answer. Previously, no. I don't know about the recent upgrades that e-filing has, but previously, no. I know that you are able to do it on your Easy File application, but yeah, I'll put that question on hold. You can send a web form to our support team, and then we will be able to answer you, or you can just go to the SARS website, and then you can inquire from there. Okay. So, Wahida, you say yes if you apply for a tax number if the employee have a number pops up. I'm not too sure on e-filing. Oh yes. Also, so Vanessa, I think Wahida is answering you there and saying that yes, you are able to. It does pop up on e-filing. So that's your answer. Thank you. Thank you, Wahida. Okay. Any other questions? Still have 5 minutes. Right, just an FYI, guys, there is going to be an announcement with the latest changes. Please be on the lookout on our Sage community. So if you go to Sage community, this is where you can get the most out of what is happening with the payroll world. See, like I said, as I explained earlier, this is the new version of the easy file. Okay, it's called easy file TC. As we say here, it's going to replace the previous versions of the software effective from the 1st of March. So please ensure that you are on the latest easy file so that when we go on to the submission period, we are not left out and still need to go and download and install. Please have an IT person assisting you in terms of installing the easy file. Should you have any issues or errors, you can visit the SARS filing easy file web page, or you can contact the number is here. We've supplied the number for you um, on this post. So it's very important that you familiarize yourself with the community hub. We post numerous things there that is payroll related, and just it's like a community. You guys can ask anything on there, and our very reliable business partners are able to assist you with any queries on there as well. Yeah. So Vanessa, on your payroll, we do on the you go to help, and it's the very first thing that you have on there, the very first option. So Sage Community Hub. So that's where you access the Community Hub. Kashifa, you asked where can you see the upcoming webinars for Sage Pastel? We on the Community Hub as well. So we post a week before that the upcoming webinar is a particular date. Our webinars happen every 2 weeks. So I think the next webinar will be on the 5th of March. Okay, so we do post it on the community hub. We also post it on our monthly mailers so that you guys are aware of the webinars. Thank you so much, Kashifa. Um, yeah. So there will be a recording of this session and it will be available to you guys. Yes, I was about to say, Jen, yes. You will be getting a recording or a copy of this recording of the session. Should you want to have previous recordings sent through to you, because last week we were going through clearing of exceptions, the common exceptions that one might encounter when you're doing your year end. So we do have that one as well. I only went through the year-end process today. The last webinar, we went through common exceptions that you might come across. So should you want that recording as well, it is available. We can send it through to you. Okay. Um, I can send it through you to directly, Jane. That's fine. Let me see if I'm gonna edit on the hub. Yeah, yeah, sure. It can be available on the same. I think I'm just gonna reply to the same post on where you registered for the webinar, so that is available for everybody. It's not gonna be immediate because I need to just make it nice and fancy so that I can change it and put it on our YouTube channel, and it's available for all. So yeah, but I will be sending a copy to you. Um, yeah, so usually what happens, guys, is that we send the copy to all the people that attended. Okay, to everybody that attended. So, Rachel, yes, you will be getting a copy as well. All right. Any other questions? I'll be ending the meeting soon. We are over time now. And another thing, should you have any other topics that you guys want us to demonstrate? So your opinions are very open or very welcome. So if you want us to go through a certain topic, we can just combine it with whatever topics that we have in line on our schedules on the webinar. So that is also welcome as well. I'll be adding that on the hub actually when I post this video. Okay. So if there's any other questions, thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Wednesday, even though it has been raining cats and dogs. I hope everybody is keeping warm with a nice cup of soup. Yeah, have a lovely, lovely Wednesday, and thank you very much. Bye.